Hello there and welcome back. After a few weeks of demo, today we're gonna have a chat about a very important topic, creative block or writer block, whatever you wanna call it. It's something that all of us creative minds go through sooner or later. And let me start saying something, it's really normal. You will go through it and there's some way you can deal with it. I will share my experience actually opening up about the fact that the last couple of months has probably been the worst creative time of my life. And you might say, wow, you just moved to a beautiful new studio, everything is set up and working out. And yes, I have been through it has been the worst writer block that I've ever had. To a point that, I was spiraling down on the classic thought I should stop, nothing is really work. And after that, I have to say, these days, I finally realized that all of that time was propedeutic to a few good things that I prepare. And now I have an album that is almost ready. I'm working on an EP that is almost ready. And I'm really proud of what I did. So I feel that our minds really plays tricks on us when we feel that we have nothing to give, nothing to write, nothing to create. And I want to share what has been my learning, how I get out of these dark times. And I think that actually these dark times are pretty important for the creative process itself. So before going on, the usual way you can support my work. You can subscribe, hit like button, share this content, easy and free. You can buy from the affiliate link down below. I will get a tiny percentage no matter what you're gonna buy. Just click that link and go on. And then you can become a patron. Patron is where I share more in-depth content. I reply to all of your questions. And lately we started a new project doing an EP as a community effort. So I will follow you creating your 4 tracks in the upcoming months. So if you're interested in that or you need some push, some help, please subscribe. It will really help. Okay, so what I want to talk about today, it's what is the creative block to me? And then I will give you 5 ways I work around it. And with each way, I will give you a little push. And with push, I mean some idea, some tricks or some, push to do something to get out of your block state. So first thing first, whenever I feel that I am not creative enough or there's something off, I try to analyze what happened around me. I try to analyze the process and the environment and my workflow to see if there's something that get out of my control or something that I cannot control and I have to accept. That is really important because I feel and I really truly believe on that way of saying that repeating, keep doing the same things over and over, expecting a different outcome is the way that leads to craziness. And yes, it's true, like I have been there many times, I've been repeating my process over and over, using the same instrument, using the same concept, and then end up with the same product and being not happy about that. And then regret all the time I spent on that and be very hard on myself. So that is the first thing. I will usually see what happened around me, what changed me, what moved me from my creative flow to something that doesn't lead to anything. This can be many things. Now I will tell you what happened to me. Of course, each one of us has a different situation, a different story. So take my experience as just, an example. So I moved to Berlin from USA. Actually, I moved from USA to Italy to Berlin. I have to say that in USA, when I was living in Brooklyn, I have not the perfect situation, but the most beautiful studio I could have. Of course, it was in an apartment. It was limited. I couldn't do a lot of noise, but the light, the windows, the look of it was a continuous source of inspiration for me. That, if I have to be honest, was the perfect environment for my kind of music. I had to leave that apartment because they double the cost of it, from around 2,000 something to 4,000. I was like, you know what, this is crazy, this is insane, goodbye. Of course, I miss that place dearly. I have all of my memories and I started my journey there, so I really miss it. And then I moved to Italy. In Italy, I had this studio in the country, but was not really working. So instantly I felt all of my creativity, all of my workflow in danger, and I couldn't really push myself to create as much as I wanted. Then I moved to Berlin. Berlin actually treated me really well so far. I met a lot of artists, I did a lot of gigs already, and I finally created this studio that I'm sure for a lot of you would be a dream, and it was the dream of me to have this place as well. Now, let's be completely honest. While I love being here, I love Riverside because it's filled with amazing artists, this studio, it's missing something. It misses windows, it misses open air, it misses some kind of vibe that really relates to the kind of music that I do. This, of course, impacted initially on my workflow, on what I could do. It is in a basement, there's no window, and so I had to create little by little a sort of light and a placement of things which actually works with my workflow. So that was the first things, like the changes and the room, the environment really impact on what you can do. I believe that just the light on a place will change the outcome of your music or your creativity, whatever things you do. I've been a photographer for many years, you know that. I think light is one of the most important things. It influences what you do. So, and that's why I keep writing my book about photography and music. It will come hopefully next year. Then I had a lot of stress. The stress of moving countries, the stress of changing your life, starting from scratch. It's really impactful on your mood, it's impactful on your creativity, on your productivity. For a few months I was coming here once everything was set up and I couldn't do anything. I would just stare at the instrument, feel really bad, and telling myself, what the hell are you doing? You have everything now in front of you, you need to produce. That of course create more stress that build on top of each other and make me super nervous. And this led to the final real problem, fear. The fear of not making it, the fear of not earning money, the fear of not getting fame, the fear of not getting respect. That in the end was the final mood killer and the final creative killer. Now you could use fear, you could use anxiety, you could use what I think was a borderline depression to work for you, to translate that feeling in music, and that's actually what happened, but I realized after. So I feel that all of this feeling that I went through was propedeutic for a certain kind of outcome, and we will discuss that later. So I always try now to see what I'm going through as a way of learning. One first advice that I want to give you is, whenever you feel you're not creative, whenever you feel you are down, don't be hard on yourself. There's certain kind of job I did in my life when I was a pizza maker, when I was a photo retoucher, where people would give me tasks and I would do it. They were hard job, of course. Pizza maker especially is very hard, but they were easy on your mind. You don't have to think, you don't have to create, so you don't have that kind of responsibility. This kind of job, creative job, doing music, painting, writing, need a lot of mind energy. And you need sometimes downtime. You need to just not do anything, to recharge. And this is something our society really don't like or don't understand. But sadly, we creative needs downtime. We would need support, and that's the real problem. It's like if we don't do anything, we don't earn any money. So it's a job, it's a line of job that has inside a lot of risk, a lot of worries and a lot of problems. But you know, we are also lucky that we can do this, because there's definitely worse in life. So relax, accept, and just be gentle on yourself when you feel down. It will pass for sure. And if it will not pass, maybe it's time for you to take another path. But that's the only way to understand that the only way to move forward is go through this kind of dark time. So this was a full, big, introduction to the topic. Why I got not creative, why I suffered for months, why I thought I didn't create anything. But instead, I put it down every day. I put the work down every day. I come every day to studio. I recorded something every day. And I thought it was bad, but it came out that I had a lot of cool stuff in the hard drive. And so, let's start with the 5 ways I get out of my creative block. Again, these are just my experience. I hope this could be useful for you. Let's start with number 1. And of course, as usual, I read what I write, otherwise I might get confused. So, let me actually get it. Let's be honest, I have, So the number 1, I call it change the process. So as I mentioned before, if you come at the studio and you repeat what you do every single day, somehow you will kill creativity, because you will take a process that you already experimented, that you already created and used, and repeat it. So I wouldn't call it anymore creation, but repetition, which can be great. It's useful when you learn, when you prepare your live show, for example. You have to rehearse, you have to prepare, you have to repeat. But if you want to create, then you have somehow to engage into different way of working. So there's different way that I face these things, and I start usually changing order in which I record things. For example, for a long time, my first instrument that I put down would be the 303, the Avalon. Then it became the Performer. And after a while that became very boring, very repetitive, so I tried to avoid to start with that. So for example, for the last few months, my first instrument was the analog rhythm, which I neglected for years, and now it became the main part of the creation. Will it last? Probably not. Now that is functional to this moment, to this precise moment, but just changing the order in which I create, the order in which I record, change my process and lead me to new pathways. Then, of course, change instrument. I just said that. Now I'm lucky because I receive a lot of instruments, but we all have a lot of tools we don't use. I'm sure about that. So you can definitely start using different stuff. And then intention and concept. This is a very important thing. I feel that whenever you face a project and you set down your intention and your ideas, your concept, then everything will be easier. In the EP class that I'm doing on my Patreon, one of the main concept is to lay down a page in which you put down intention, rules on what you're gonna do. While it might seem counterintuitive, like I'm in a creative state, I'm in a flow, I don't want any rules. Sometimes having a set of rules frees you from the same rule itself, from other rules, from other worries. So it's really important for me to put down intention. And to me, intention is what makes art or not art. This is a topic that I will talk about in another video. So, change the process. What would be the push that I would tell to a student of mine? So I would sit down and have a concept in my mind. Concept can be anything, could be a mood, a kind of vibe, a kind of feeling. And then I would say create a score for that concept. I like to think as a scoring artist because I like movies. And so usually I try to read something, watch an image, watch a movie, and then from that start thinking. So the concept could be a sci-fi kind of vibe scene. And then I would start with that. I would sit down and maybe use just one instrument, an OP1 or my Vermona or something very simple, and score that concept that is in my head. Doesn't have to be a masterpiece, but it's something to push you outside your uncreative state, using the help of some fascination coming from the outside world. So this is one of my first point. The second point, which has really been important for me, and I call it revisit ideas. So I'm a very judgmental person. I'm Italian. I have a huge set of preconceived idea of what is good and what is not good. And that, again, it's my Italian heritage. We Italian are like that. We know better than everybody. We are better than everybody. And I'm joking, but not really. I find out that our culture lead us to think we need to know better. And I don't know where it comes from, and I hate it. And it's a lifetime trying to get over this. So, for example, I always had a bad vibe about presets and sample. I try never to use them. And then I met my neighbor here at Riverside, Andrea Viscardi, which is an amazing musician, and really influenced me the way I think now about preset and sample. He produced for himself, for artists, and he let me understand that what I'm doing here, it's also a job, and I shouldn't close my mind to opportunities. And I have been guilty to produce music using very few tools, then basically have a very few set of sound. So lately I start, thanks for collaboration with brands and stuff that I bought, I start experimenting with sample libraries. And the three things that I'm working a lot with is a Native Instrument Complete, Slate and Ash sample library, and Orchestral Tool lately sample libraries. Using these things really open up a world, and the album that I almost finished really relies on the use of sample mixed with the synths I have. So previously I would never accept doing that because I thought it was cheating. I was like, yeah, I cannot use sample that somebody else did. And no, man, that actually make my music less interesting, or less, not interesting, close opportunities. Now, of course, there's different use of sample, and I want to put preset in that too. Now I like to create a backbone of a track and then start using sample, using preset, and then make those preset, those sample mine. How do I do that? Using everything else that I have. So I can start from some sound and then pass it through my desk, through my effects, and make it unique. So the goal of my music, the goal of my production is having unique sound. But I had all preconceived idea that prevented me to use an ocean of sounds available to me that allow me to be more creative and have more depth kind of music. So, of course, this was my idiosyncrasy. Is that the right word? Now, I would like you to try to learn what are the preconceived idea that holds you to do something. It could be many things. It could be like you don't want to try to engage in a simple musical structure, or try to do pop music, or try to use a certain kind of synth, or VST synth, or work in the box. There are many of these, and we are really target of these kind of ideas, preconceived ideas. Brands try to force us to have these kind of ideas because they, of course, try to bring you to their concepts. And also, if you become like, I hate in the box because I will only use hardware, it doesn't really, it might not really be useful to you. Of course, use what makes you creative and happy, but being open to what it's all around, it's always good. At least it will teach you something. So my push for this point would be find one idea you don't really relate with, something that always has been outside your comfort zone, and try to compose something using exactly that idea. No expectation here. You don't have to create with the idea, I will use this for an album, I will use this for something important. No, just use it for something, for create, to just let go, be open and free, because this will freeze you up. Okay, point number 3. The downtime is the foundation for your next projects. So in this case, I realize that having downtime in that moment, it was terrible. I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? Blah, blah, blah. But then I sort of subliminally used that downtime to learn concept, to expand my mind, to put down some work that become useful later on. So just shifting the concept of, okay, I'm losing time, but instead I'm using this time as a foundation for my creative time that will come, really helped me. So usually when I feel down, those are the moments I will spend more learning, reading, watching tutorials. Maybe if I have some instrument in the pipeline that I have to demo, those are the moment that I will use those instruments. And if I do that without the pressure of I need to create, I need to put down some music and create masterpiece, things will be easier and I will start breathing again, because I feel that our line of work necessitates also time to learn, and time to learn is part of the job itself. So you need to devolve some time to that. So I start feeling that, okay, I don't feel creative today. Great, I'm gonna learn. And of course, it's, if you sing like that and if you have time to learn, that's a godsend gift. So I sometimes learn things that doesn't even relate to music. And I like, for example, to take book and then try to, I would call not self-development books, but books that, not fiction books that talk about essay or self-development stuff, or talk about history, or talk about art, and then try to see how I can link those books to music. For example, go check my video about La Chambre Chiara, the Bright Room, and music, which actually came, I had that idea in a moment of very downtime, creative bad luck, whatever you want to call it. So my push for this is very simple. Go find a tutorial or somebody that inspires you, that make some video, and try to recreate that. use this time to learn a process. Then of course don't put out and copy something that somebody else do. That is a no. But learn, because you will put inside yourself some knowledge, and then later on that will come handy. Super simple. I do that a lot. I go online and I check other artists, and then I say, okay, I want to learn how to do that. That is, they say steal from other artists, and yeah, I agree, you need to learn from other artists. Then I wouldn't call it steal, because then you have to work what you get from other. But yeah, use your downtime when you feel down to just learn. Super important. Now, fourth point is stop using your comfort tools. This seems very basic, but it is what hold me for a long time to make different things. I believe that music has everything. You have your own style, and no matter what you use, you will have your own style. But you need always to build on top of that. Otherwise, you will produce the same album, the same thing over. And there's artists that do that, which I appreciate too. But unless you're a genius and you create something really unique, and you will know when you do that, I believe that adding and building on top of the foundation of your previous work, it's mandatory. So for a long time, as I mentioned, I used the 303 and then build on top. 303, kick 4 on the floor, pad. That has been my first albums, was that. Then the performer came, and the octatrack, and my workflow was performer improvising, had some effects, kick up 4 on the floor, and that's it. So what happened is, like, in the long run, you get tired of that sound, you get tired of that process. Doesn't mean that you don't use it, because my live set are still based on the performer and the Avalon as a 303, and it will be like that because I'm proficient with that, people like that, and I want my live show to be that. But when I record now, I try to completely change the workflow. I completely change the instrument I use, especially the order, as I mentioned before. So for example, in this last album, the main instrument has been the desk and the rhythm. I started using that, seeing how creating chain of effect influence, and that create texture. So I started using texture as a foundation. Most of the texture that I did come from sample libraries, brought in the real world on tape, and then heavily processed. So basically, what is this original sample has nothing to do with what became the final texture, the final sound that I use. And from that, I built everything on top. So for this, push would be find your least used instrument. In my case, I never used a lot enough, because they're pretty amazing, the Native Instrument Complete suite. And I start learning about that, and I start digging into sound that I couldn't get, like all the ethnic kind of sound, all the orchestral kind of sound. Then Slate and Ash came, and I'm obsessed with Slate and Ash instrument, and even that I learn how to use it, and I start using that. So I would advise, use the least used instrument you have in your home. You bought it, so you're guilty of bought it, so you need to give that guy or girl, whatever it is, you need to give him some love. So try to use it, try to learn it, and even if you don't like it, try to create something with it. It will be a challenge, but with challenge always comes something interesting. Okay, and then last point of another long video that I wanted to do 10 minutes and it became 25. It's use previous ideas you recorded. Your hard drive could be a gold mine. So the album that will come out, I would say that most of the song, most of the track, which are probably the favorite track I've ever did. And of course you have to say that of your latest album, right? But anyway, they were all ideas that I recorded in the month that I thought I wanted to quit with music. So I religiously go through each recording, and I do at least every day 1 or 2 project recording. So I have hundreds and hundreds, and I go through that, and I selected at the beginning I'll have 40 interesting ideas, and then it become 20, and then it become 8. And then I put a lot of work over that, because what I find out that most of these small recordings, they had some cool idea in it. So it doesn't mean that I use the entire recording or all the tracks, but could have been just a simple part, a sound sometimes, a simple sound that most of the time I hear it and I say, how in the hell I create that? And I have no clue, and that's when I'm happy, because I create. If I don't know how to do it, nobody else will know probably. So I will reuse that sound, and I love the idea that I could not recreate it anymore. So it is a gift. It is something that in that moment I didn't even realize how good it was. So I will reuse that and then build on top. And this process really proved itself to be good. And I created all of the newest track like that. The push that I would say, go check all of your previous recording, find some sample, could be like small snippets, could be like a granular part of it. Take it, export it, and start a new track using that. So use a foundation, an idea that you laid down when you felt bad, when you felt you weren't creative enough, and build on top of that. That is a big statement, and it will make you feel good, trust me. And then, you know, it's kind of easy if you set all of the point that I tell you, like you set your intention, you have a mood, an idea, a concept, and then you use something for your previous, you use a different instrument. Now you have a lot of challenges that you can put together, that it will be exciting, and it will make creating something new, and it will create something new. So you will be exactly what you want, creative in a new way. All right, so as usual, these are all of my 2 cents. Doesn't have to be taken as truth, but it really helped me moving forward and create something. And the final point is like, yes, it will come soon. I will be again in the state where I say, what am I doing here? It's part of doing this kind of job. So I will get over it, and I know by now that something good will come. I'm very excited on the music I'm working. My artist friend that listened to that, most of them loved it. A few didn't, but that's part of the game. And yeah, I will share with you that soon. And yeah, I hope you will like it too. Okay, thanks for watching. Hope this was useful. Hit the like button, please. And I'll see you next week. Or on Patreon if you want to.